I made it, folks. I have no idea what's going on. And I'm also realizing just now that I am sitting in the dark. You gotta turn some of these lights on. I have no idea why the main channel would not go live. It would freeze every time I attempted to go live. So let me fix the lighting and we'll get on with the show. I have something quite fun to share with you today, and I hope everyone's having a wonderful Sunday. If anyone's recovering from the holidays yesterday, I hope you're taking that in stride. Give me a second to turn some lights on, and I'll be right back. I'm also going to straighten that camera because, well, let's face it, that's no good. There we go. That should do the trick. It's still lopsided. What's going on? It's like the first time I've ever gone live or something. Hi folks, welcome to Smell It Sunday. What is Smell It Sunday? I'm still trying to define. Live stream every Sunday at 2 p.m. Standard Eastern Time, New York City time. And it's a moment for us to sit down and talk about our mutual passion of fragrance, candles, and other passions we have as well. You know, we talk about films a lot, so on and so forth. So, I have something I want to share of my St. Patrick's Day special. Now, I'm calling it a special. When I usually use those words special, that's going to suggest that there's a lot of production value involved. There wasn't a lot of production value involved in this one, but I did cover a lot of St. Patrick's Day candles, and I accidentally stumbled across one that is really not a St. Patrick's Day candle or even a springtime candle, but I felt like it fit the bill. It fit the holiday, and even though St. Patrick's Day is behind us, I thought I'd break it out, share with you my thoughts, my evaluation of the candle right here, and also I haven't always owned this candle. This is something I purchased that was used, burned. So there's a situation of wax that's not good. It needs to be fixed. So I brought my tools, my items to fix this candle, but also to give it a cold sniff. All right, so let me pull you guys up. That is always the first step. I have no idea what to say about the main channel. Does it worry me? Yeah, it does. So how's everybody doing? I can't really read your comments at this second, but I am going to pull you up right here. If I can get this password right. Alright, so we are not on Candle Enthusiast, we are on Aromatically Speaking, my second channel. And if any of you are joining in for the first time, well, this is just a train wreck so far, but trust me, we have a lot of fun on my main channel. My main channel. It's called The Candle Enthusiast. And we evaluate candles, we being myself, but we share a lot of communication, a lot of correspondence back and forth. But most importantly, my favorite part of the channel is when we get outside. This is my office. When we get outside and we go and we visit places and we put context behind fragrances, candles, scents, aromas, or aromatics, whatever you want to call them. And we go everywhere from amusement parks to soon, well, we've been to museums before, but we're going to be to a few more in the very near future. So make sure you go over to the Candle Enthusiast, subscribe. Some good content coming up now that the spring is finally poking its head, and it's lagging on me here. So let's see who's in the house. We got a lot of people in the house. We got Monica Carlson from Super Simple Arts and Crafts. She's in the house. Oh wow, and we have so many people. I can't go over everyone individually, but thank you for all joining and for being very patient. And it looks like it's still lagging on me. Is it lagging on you guys? Lagging. I am doing very good. My St. Patrick's Day was filled with filming and editing. Everything look good? Am I lagging? Am I stalling? Does the image look okay? I think there's something wrong with my Wi-Fi. I am in the north. Electricity, and I guess Wi-Fi is included in that category. All I need, okay, it says, Nancy says, not lagging, looking good. All right, that's all I needed to get going. Sip of water. Almost down the wrong pipe. Now, to negate that, we got some coffee. Yeah. So what is the candle that I want to speak about today? One that has been retired for quite some time. I can almost guarantee some of you folks haven't seen it before, but those of you who remember the men's collection that originally appeared in 2012, and then in 2014 there was some additional fragrances including this one right here. And this is going to be, can we read that, or is that light too bright? This is Camouflage by Yankee Candle. Yes, Camouflage. That is a very interesting concept. There is no smell to camouflage, but there's a lot of inspiration, internal images that can be pulled from the idea of camouflage. So this would be an ideal concept for me. If someone was giving me this project, come up with the smell of camouflage, I would have an amazing time, a wonderful time, fun time trying to figure out what would camouflage smell like. And I think it's worth addressing. Again, like I said, very St. Patrick's Day, forward, if I can, suggest that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because not only is right off the bat, herbal notes that remind me, and I'm sure if you smelled it too, if you have it at home, pull it off the shelf and take a sniff, of men's cologne. Although a lot of you might not think things like basil and other herbs are going to be used um, in colognes. They are, and in this case, there's some interesting other herbal notes that maybe are not used in men's cologne, like parsley. And I'm kind of trying to list the things before I get to what I really want to address. There's not a whole lot of brightness here, but there is a citrus component of some sort. You kind of need that. I mean, we talk about that all the time. You need something to brighten any candle. Otherwise, it kind of bogs you down and it's like sinking in quicksand. You need something that's gonna lift you out of that quicksand when you're knee deep. Right off the bat, I'm thinking of, I have a collection of retro colognes. I want to break some out for you. Two things that I'm thinking of. Da-da-da. Let's see, we need this one, and where's the other one? Oh, there it is. Now, these are colognes that you might hear me talking about all the time. One being a product by Jeffrey Beam, Gray Flannel. This was introduced, it's really your father wore that, your grandfather wore that, maybe you wore this, but this was released in the mid-70s, I believe 1976, Gray Flannel, and it just has those earthy green notes, leafy greens, herbal notes, like that basil, that Thai basil, almost smells a little bit like black licorice. But vetiver, it was huge. It's not so much huge today in colognes for men. You know, men's cologne has changed drastically. But this is, I don't want to spray it because it's super strong. The very definition of, say, vetiver, which is a nice earthy, woodsy component. I can't screw this off. And patchouli, baby, patchouli. Again, herbal, woody, not witch's brew, but patchouli forward. So you can kind of get a sense of Gray Flannel, of when it was released, when it was popular, based on the ingredients that are inside of this candle. But something that's not as old as Gray Flannel that this is reminding me of, because it is a cologne, a men's cologne forward candle, Stetson. Now, I don't wear this stuff. Again, I don't want you to think that I'm wearing these, because this bottle of cologne right here, this one's probably, it's many years old, and so is this one. But I have these on hand just for reference whenever I'm trying to, you know, make a connection between a candle and a cologne. Yeah. Stetson. If you know Stetson, there's Stetson going on. It's a very warm, thick, rich, clean amber smell. You just have, I think that really explains it. You know, any kind of bath or body product that has amber or ambergris or labdanum on the front of the bottle. Think of that. Dial, gold bar soap. Very grassy. Let me take that back. Not grassy. Hay-like. Hay. Like dried out bales of hay. So if I had to pick two colognes that you may or may not know that smell like Camouflage, it's going to be those two. I need some coffee. Give me a second here. So, fresh, clean, out in the open, out at the beach, out in an open meadow, clean, fresh air after the rain, springtime. What we talk about this all the time. At least I talk about it. What does the fragrance industry? How do they portray the idea of clean and fresh? That's always going to be the contrast of florals and citrus. We've already talked about the citrus, but there are floral components here. You know, nice, sweet and almost tart blossoms. Yeah, very fruit forward flowers. So we could say a white musk if we'd like. You know, it's hard because everything else, that vetiver and that patchouli, is going to come off a little bit musky. But I wouldn't have a problem at all saying something like cherry blossom, even something like lilac. I think would be a very safe assessment or descriptor. But let's face it, what really drew me into springtime, St. Patrick's Day, maybe not so much March, but April, dandelion. Dandelion, yes, the flower, the petals themselves, the stem. But if you remember from childhood, when you would pick the dandelion and you pop off the head of the dandelion and you kind of rub your finger down the stem and you start to get that ribbon effect, there's that milky substance inside, dandelion milk, and you can't mistake it. It's just, there's just nothing. No other florals that I know that has that very specific smell. And this is dandelion all over the board. The flower, the stem, and that dandelion milk for sure. And a very clean, untreated, unaged woody accord. So a blend of different wood oils that is very fresh. You know, it's not going to be an old piece of furniture. It's not going to smell like an old house. It's not going to smell like a piece of driftwood. But it's also not going to smell like a piece of lumber either. It's just, imagine a really high quality hardwood, say oak, for example, but to be, you know, fit in with candle terminology, I'm just going to go ahead and classify it as sandalwood as being the base of this candle. So we have this green, grassy, herbal side to this candle, kind of refreshing from that citrus, but also kind of clean from that amber and that clean air, the florals and the citrus combined with that wooden base that adds not only to the men's cologne profile, but it also kind of paints a portrait, like greens, wood, being out in the wilderness, wearing the camo. It does paint a portrait very well, but I definitely see why this is a part of the men's collection. What I always found interesting about something like this, though, I feel like men scented candles that smell like men, are always going to appeal on average more to women than men. So it's just weird that's why I don't think that men's collection ever really worked, unless, you know, it was something like you know, like riding mower. The bacon one was certainly novelty. Movie night was fun, novelty. Driven fragrance. So I recommend it. If you can find it, I wouldn't necessarily spend all on like eBay, or if you're looking on Craigslist or Facebook Market and someone has it and they really don't know what they have, because these do tend to go sometimes for like over $100. See if you can get one. They come in smaller, like Kringle size jars. The Kringle with like the two lips, the really thick glass, which was kind of cool. And some of them even came, there was 3 sets, right? There was 3 sets of red toolboxes, and the candles were inside the toolboxes. It was a good effort on Yankee Candle, but I think it was a huge slip and fall because it's edition candle. And one more thing I want to mention, I can't believe I forgot to say it, and this is going to kind of segue into my videos. Special. I got about 10 minutes done yesterday. I'm expecting it for it to be about another 10 to 12 additional minutes. But please tell me if you have this at home, take it off the shelf, or if you have a good recollection, smell this and tell me you do not smell jalapeno. Jalapeno. Oh yeah. Going back to those greens, right? The herb sense, spicy greens. You get that green bell pepper slash jalapeno, mainly the seeds and the membrane inside. I'm not going nuts, but I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure you would agree with me if you're here with me right now smelling this candle. A green bell pepper, which is you know, that I love it. How often do we get to jump into the category of vegetal components? There's not a whole lot of vegetables and candles that we burn. I talk about vegetals all the time when analyzing wine. There is, there's the beginnings of some severe tunneling. So let's do this. I left my tinfoil upstairs. Tinfoil on hand. There's a good chance you probably have your blowtorch on hand. Plus, this is a much speedier way to do this. Now, point it this way. I don't recommend you folks do this at home. One, because it's probably going to, if you overdo it, scorch, burn the fragrance oil. So you really can't put like the flame right up against the wax. You kind of just have to heat up the glass, let that melt on its own. If you want to use, I think Rachel said she used a hair dryer, which to me sounds great. You're probably going to go through a lot of hair dryers. We need a lady town, says Nikki. Yeah. And you know what? I think that would certainly appeal to men. You see how, you know, how it works here? You know, I think a lot of the time masculine candles, there's an assumption that men are going to like the smell, when really it's the other way around. Not all the time. Not all the time. But let me tell you, if there was a candle called Mantown and there was a candle called Ladytown, I don't know. I think it might be more exciting, more fun to explore. Well, what does Ladytown smell like? So that's a great point. Yeah, what Eric said, it was a bad move. And not only that, but still at the Yankee Candle Village, they have a whole gift shop called the Man Cave. Yankee Candle Village, I love you. I'm not saying anything bad, but I think that was in direct response to what Kringle Candle has in their gift shop, because nearly their entire gift shop is products stereotypically for men, like decanters and flasks and men's socks, men's ties, you know, signs promoting beer and whiskey. Very classy stuff, but it's just so obviously screaming to suggest, you know, husbands, you go here while the wives go shopping, and that's wrong. You know, if I was a woman, I'd be offended, and as a man, I'm offended by that. To suggest that men shouldn't be out on the floor sniffing candles. But I digress. Let's get this glass hot and see if we can start slowly. You see how I just only thing I don't want to hit is the label, because that will obviously melt the label. But if I heat up the glass just a little at a time, if you do too much, it is gonna crack on you. And just because the wax doesn't melt like right off the bat, doesn't mean it won't, because this glass is really hot right now, really hot. So what that's gonna do is make that paraffin wax eventually melt. And this wick is pretty long too, so that's good news, because that will mean that once we fix this tunneling, the wick won't be buried. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Now, if you get one of those kitchen, I don't know what they are called. I use them all the time in culinary school, but I just don't know the name. The guns that you like crisp up, like creme brulee. What are those called? That would probably be a whole lot more safe than this. And something that I suggested and I ended up hating, I think I have it right here, is I have one of these really cheap lighters that you buy at grocery stores. Or not at grocery stores, gas stations. Oh God, it's just so terrible. I guess if you had maybe a small candle that you wanted to fix. And I always get funny looks when I buy one of these kind of lighters. There's only so many things you could use for these. Anyway, back to camouflage. So I'm just gonna keep going around gently, very gently. And we're eventually going to fully pull this candle out. Throw some questions at me. I unfortunately haven't been having had a chance to join in the conversation. ago, I always wondered how Yankee Candle poured their housewarmers to get that amazing marbleized effect on their jars. I should bring that closer, but I don't want to knock anything over. And you guys probably saw Yankee Candle recently released a pretty high quality, professional looking video of their manufacturing factory. And the melted wax and the fragrance oil is blended together. I could have swore that the fragrance oil and the wax would pour into the jar separately. All those years, I really, in my mind, was thinking about how I could make a device that would do that, replicate that. And apparently that's not what they do. The problem is, when you heat up fragrance oil, you're losing a lot of the fragrance. So what's going to happen is I'm going to fix this candle. It's not going to tunnel anymore, but it's going to take about a good hour before the full power of the Oh yeah, we're almost done. Can you believe it? Right. Yes. I do. There's a feeling of being like Dr. Frankenstein in this moment. I go a little mad, I get a little crazy, the hair gets a little bit more insane, and my voice goes up an octave. It gets higher. That was like a really bad Woody Allen impression. But yes, so we've made it. We're outrageous success, if you ask me. Just want to hit it a couple more times. Yes. Now, I was going to say I can't really show you. It pulled out. I just lit it. But I'm forgetting that I don't have this on a like a crazy tripod. That is gonna be a fully pooled camouflage candle. Or at least another ½ an inch of pooling. I will blow it out, and then what'll usually happen is you'll get that inch or ½ inch layer of wax that's much lighter than the rest of the wax, because you know, because melting with a blowtorch, you're burning off a lot of the pigments and the fragrance oil. But like I said, from this point forward, if this candle is burned appropriately, it won't tunnel anymore. So did I save this candle? Did I bring it back to life? I feel like I did. And I've also burned myself on this candle right here. But there it is. And now I have it. Now I have a perfectly burnable camouflage candle to put in my collection. A lot of times people think when, you know, a candle tunnels, it's done. But there are multiple ways. You can also cut out the part that is tunneling, you know, the outer rim, melt that down, let's say in a pot, and then pour it in But this is much quicker, no mess. All you need is your muddy blowtorch on hand. Carol says, has anyone ever heard of a flame out fire where the wax itself suddenly catches on fire? A relative claimed it happened to her, but I'm not sure that it could ever happen with ordinary use. I think in order for that to happen, Carol, that there would have to be some form of alcohol inside the wax. And that would kind of work like an alcohol lamp, or, you know, if you like light a high proof spirit on fire. But fragrance oil is not really flammable if it doesn't have alcohol in it. So my guess, if it happened to your relative, people do this all the time. People who make candles don't know that you can't just take perfume or cologne, mix it with wax, and have a candle. Putting alcohol in a candle is a really bad idea, because then, again, the wax, the entire substance of the candle becomes, or can potentially become, flammable because of the ethanol in the inside. I'm guessing that's what happened. Am I getting a set, says Travis. Asks Travis. What do I need? That's the thing. You know, when you put things away, it's great. But every time I put things away, they end up in a different spot. This is what I need. Now, I've been sitting in front of that candle for, how long has it been? For about half an hour. So, if you just walked into the room now, no question, I mean this sincerely, I know for sure, you would smell it like crazy. But because my nose has sort of become, not sort of, it has become desensitized to the fragrance because I've been exposed to it for 30 minutes, I'm going to take this glass hurricane, which, and this is awesome. I don't know if you can tell how it's kind of a little bit disgusting inside, like almost as if there was oil in there. There was oil in there, because what I use this for is not putting candles inside. What I use this for is to put the hurricane upside down over the candle, just like this. And as that candle releases the fragrance, it's going to fill up this vessel. That's why it's greasy on the inside of this tube. But this is also going to concentrate the aroma, and it's also not going to put the flame out, because if I completely drop this down, of course, the flame is going to disappear quite quick. There will be no more oxygen to consume, right, Angie? Always picking on Angie. Thing. If you've ever had Thai basil pho, you know, where they put the Thai basil in like beef pho or soup, a Vietnamese soup, that variety of basil has this black licorice aroma, and I'm smelling that more than I thought that I would. is really shining through now. It's kind of, it's not taking a front seat, but it's definitely not a nuance like it was before. Let me just do this just one more time. And I have to wrap something around this candle because it's pretty cold in the office and I don't want to lose that pool. Angie says, I think we're all glad you're doing this in New York. And every time I would visit, you know, I just always fit in, and maybe I didn't fit in, but I always... incredibly intelligent people who would be like masters of chess and stir up fantastic conversations. Okay, so I was debating whether or not I wanted to say this because it might have had something to do with the blowtorch, but I'm gonna go there. Remember I said green bell pepper or jalapeno? Okay, I want you to think of like a poblano or an ancho chili pepper that's been thrown on the grill and has had a chance to caramelize. The sugars inside the vegetable have caramelized, making it smell, well, yeah, a little bit grilled, toasted, and you know, burnt, let's face it, but also pulls out some sweetness. Even though I'm desensitized to the smell, I know it's throwing off fragrance. Yeah, there's no question. That's a powerful candle. I've rarely ever classify a candle as being high intensity. There certainly are high intensity candles like balsam and cedar and season of peace, but again, I'm gonna put this in the category as it's showing right now as a medium to medium plus intensity candle. What that means is whether you're smelling it up close or if you're smelling this candle while you're 20 feet away, it's going to fall into the category, the way I classify candles, as medium, medium plus intensity. This has nothing to do with the word throw. All right, let's get back to you guys, see if we got some questions. And then I think we're gonna wrap this up. I got a lot of editing to do. I want to get this done for you guys by tonight. If you don't mind, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. And there's no reason why I have to type it. What fragrance would you, let's say, would you like to see Yankee Candle represent? Meaning if, like, what's not out there on the market? And maybe it's dawned on you several times, like, why don't they make this candle? Like white chocolate. White chocolate came out this year. Yankee Candle is over 40 years old. and they've made many white chocolate candles, but they've never made a straight up white chocolate candle. It's taken more than 40 years to see this. So I can imagine a lot of people saying, like, what's going on? Like, why has the Yankee Candle never made this candle? If there was one candle you could recommend, Yankee, that you have like an idea that you would like to see them manipulate that idea or that image into a fragrance. Um, you know, a good example of that would be, you know, you come up with a name like um, um, Frigid Autumn. Nah, it's such a horrible name, Frigid. Um, uh, Autumn Sunset. There's one, right? There's not an autumn sunset candle. Um, but that, you know, right there, that's a fantasy candle. So you would have to manipulate that fragrance because it's not a literal fragrance. What candle would you guys like to see? Castles. Many reasons for me. Because you know I love Disney, and naturally when you love something you want to see that, and you love candles, you want to see that represented in candle form. So are you talking about like castles like Disney princess castles, or just castles like this, like castles in the sky? Castles in the sky, that would be an awesome candle name. Or castle in the sky. Okay, you guys, you've typed a lot here. Amanda says washing up liquid. Washing up liquid. I like that. You know, like those things in when you stay in like old bed and breakfast, they have the basin, like the basin sink. There's no running water, but the basin sink in your room, and you have the water pitcher, and you dump it in there, and you splash it on your face. I think that like image on a Yankee candle would be really cool, and make it really look like a bed and breakfast label, and you know, call it B&B morning, or uh, B. I'm trying to think of like a play on words, and I can't come up with something. But I like that. I like that idea, like the basin of one of those really ancient bed and breakfasts. All right, so Hobble Kitty says there was a fragrance made by I don't know how to pronounce the company. I know the company. Is it Demeter? I'm a horrible pronouncer of names, but I know the company you're talking about. But she said there was a fragrance called Kitten Fur. That's asking for trouble. I mean, if you love kittens, but those with allergies. But then I guess, you know, people have allergies to flowers too. And you're saying that kitten fur is one of your favorite smells in the world. I don't know. I don't have a reference. I've always been a dog person. I'm not allergic to cats, but I don't think I've ever even like been in like the same room as a kitten. I don't know. Mexican chocolate or Mexican cinnamon. Yes, yes. And that brings up so many other ideas like Mayan chocolate beverages. If we're gonna do, you know, south of North America, and then what's that product? The Mexican hot chocolate with like grandma on it. Um, I love it. don't make fun of my pronunciation, but it's owned by Nestle now. Ambulita, Abuelita. Um, I remember I bought some of that while I was in Napa. What other? What other? It's a good one, Nancy. Amanda says, scented like the UK classic Fairy. Lemon detergent like Yankee Candle Fairy. And classic? You're making me feel like a fool here because how do I not know this? Fairy Garden? If you could elaborate for me on that one, Amanda, that would be super cool. If it's Fairy Garden, I see which one you mean, and I would imagine it smells kind of how you described it. I also just came across. Oh, it's not a Yankee Candle. But it looks like a Yankee Candle, and it's called Fairy Wishes Snow. That's the name of it. Okay, washing up liquid fairy. I see where you're going there. I gotta go back. I'm missing your suggestions. I just saw Travis's and I love it. And Eric said he just had this conversations with a bunch of guys. Yeah, this is something I talk about all the time. If you watched a lot of my earlier videos, approaching complete absolute strangers off the street, it's not like premeditated, it's not like they're friends and I'm pretending like they're strangers. Like if you watched my Sleepy Hollow video, I was just walking from business to business, and literally there was two young ladies, very nice young ladies from Long Island, sitting. I could tell because of their accent. They were sitting right outside of like a grocery store on a bench, and I had a candle. It was Liz's Sleepy Hollow candle, and I broke it up. For Witch's Brew, I talked to another bartender and I asked him, like, based on this candle, what would you imagine? How would you create a cocktail concept to pair with this candle? I love asking these kinds of questions because it really gets people's imagination going, and I think when they start thinking of candles in that way, in that context, it makes them appreciate the concept of fragrance and burning candles a little bit more. Okay, so Travis says smoke copper gunpowder. Eric, wait, not Eric. I saw Eric's name, I got confused. Travis, I am with you completely. I'm with you completely on that. Metals are metallic nuances are almost unheard of in any candle. You know, they can pull a few tricks to get something to smell like copper, iron, that tinge of metallic, but I've never smelled a truly metallic candle, nor have I really smelled a truly mineral driven candle or even soil driven candle. But so to have smoke copper and that expired gunpowder. Like fresh gunpowder, I'm imagining after the gunpowder has been set off, like the smoke of the gunpowder. All right, I missed the comment from Eric, and I saw it because Nikki, was it Nikki? Yeah, it said, "Oh yuck, Eric." So I'm gonna read it. It would have no appeal. I already like that beginning. It would have no appeal. But I was discussing this with some low budget action movie fans, and we would want to call want one called post apocalypse, where it smells like sweat and urine, or urea. Label could be George Eastman. I was with you all the way, up until the sweat and urea portion of the comment. I mean, go with what you feel, but post apocalypse, I think, yeah, I mean, talk about getting your imagination going and all of the possibilities there. It's not necessarily positive candle, but again, for me, candles they're about storytelling, right? So let's give the candle another name for a second. If the candle wasn't called, what did you want to call it? Post-apocalypse. What if it was called The Walking Dead, branded after the television series? Suddenly, you're a little bit more curious if you like that show. So, it's how you phrase it. It's the portrait that you paint. The sweat thing. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it's bad if that's something that would appeal to you, but I don't think that's probably what I would call the candle if that's what it smelled like. There are already so many candles that I want to get. I don't think I want to invent new ones to add to the pile, says Angie. And Jamie's with us. Hello, Jamie. Thank you for joining us. I lost my place. I'm seeing some good ones here. Bustelo coffee. Bustelo coffee, huh, Nicole? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, right? Yeah. Uh, Bustelo coffee. I mean, how do I, um, let's see what Wikipedia says. I don't know if it's domestic or if it's imported from Spain. No, it's not. It's the coffee. Of course, the coffee is coming from other places, but it is an American-based company now, I believe. But if you saw the can, you would understand. So that's a great idea. Now, the question is, Nicole, would you want it to smell like you just cracked open that can? You know, you peeled that aluminum foil seal and smelled the ingredients in that can, or would you want it to smell like the way your house smells when you brew it in the coffee pot? Or even more specific, having an aromatic translation of what you taste as you drink the coffee. What else? What else? I'm loving this. I'm sorry if I'm taking my time so much. And Nikki says, I love the smell of Stumptown coffee. Stumptown, I was subscribed to Stumptown coffee. Stumptown and Blue Bottle Coffee, when I was in California, were like every alternate week. One week I would get a bag of Blue Bottles sent straight to me. They would ship it, not overnight, but they were in Oakland, so I would get it fast. So like they would roast it on Sunday, I would get it on Monday. It was crazy. Stumptown up in Oregon, so it was an extra day, but I would only get it about 2 days after it was brewed. And you don't want to actually or roast it. You don't want to brew coffee until about the 3rd day after it's been roasted anyway. But I am a huge fan of Stumptown, and they do have a roaster in Brooklyn, New York, so I can still get it. I can actually drive about 15 minutes down the road to really nice cafe where they brew Stumptown coffee and do pour-overs. Fried ice cream. Yes. I've never ever done that, eaten that. That sounds like something like at the fair. But again, you see how you're building on a concept, you know, get like a county fair looking label, maybe food trucks or something like that, and make it maybe a little bit like hipster. Yankee Candle's not hipster, but give it a little bit of, I don't know what a good word is, but modern maybe. Or take the exact opposite, make it look vintage, the label. But either way, county fair getting fried ice cream. Oh yeah. Where did I get that hurricane holder? Honestly, well, if you really want to get one, they have them at Michael's. They have them at like Linens and things. If you're out in the West Coast and you have a World Market, they have them there. I'm sure they have them at Marshall's. But it's just one of those hurricanes. Oh, this one. Is it this one that you're talking about? Man, okay, this one you can still find. I loved it when it came out. It came out in green and blue. It's this plaid picnic picnic blanket pattern hurricane. I got it for like 75% off. And if you still go to your outlets, I swear, I still see it. If by chance you were talking about any one of these, this is the fractal, clear, translucent, transparent. And this is the Barney egg, which I've been promising to show you guys for how long. I'm going to get back to those comments in a second, but I'm going to put this here. What I have inside is, you guys might recognize this. You know the tea light tree? On the tea light tree, it looks like the bats are flapping their wings. So I thought I'd put that in there to get the most light out of it as possible. That's not going to do anything. It looks really cool. Maybe at the end, remind me, I'll turn all of the lights off and we'll get a good look at that hurricane. And if you were talking about the clear cylindrical one that I was holding over the candle, that, like I said, you can get them everywhere, but the best place to get them are at Goodwills, Salvation Armies, thrift stores. I just don't know why people buy them. They like the idea of having them, but it's one of those things that people must have it for a week and then they give it away. It's kind of like soda streams and bread makers. One of the two most popular things you'll find at thrift stores, because people get them as gifts, people buy it, they think it's a great product to have in their home, they use it once and are like, why did I buy this? They get rid of it. So I've bought like nearly brand new soda streams, and I love bread makers, especially when you got like 4 or 5 of them going at once making different breads. And I've got them for like $5 when they were originally sold probably for like $80. Hurricane holder. Lori, I'm still not sure if I answered your question. I used to work for Rick Bayless. He's awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic. When I saw the word Bayless, I was thinking about what's his name? The character in Game of Thrones. Copper is sour when heated, brass as well. That's cool. That's really cool to know. I don't think I've ever heated up copper before. Is Kazur in the house? I didn't even see him. But Violet is saying, Kazra, you might like the candles Solus Rex by Seer Trudon. Oh man, I gotta look that up. I'm not gonna look it up now, but I just want to copy and paste it so I can look that up later. Because I am not familiar with that one. Gabe, how cool is this? I made a candle game. It's a 2-player game. It's called The Mystery Mist, as in cool mist on my face. Mystery Scent. Which reminds me of something that somebody sent me. You know who you are. They sent me a bunch of kind of used samples of wax tarts from Yankee Candle, and they wanted me to identify which ones they were. And I couldn't do it because they had so much of the fragrance oil was expired that I really couldn't tell. Kettle corn. Yes. We have movie nights. Where did I put movie night? Which was a part of the men's collection. How is this men's collection? Movie night. Because it's got a controller on the label. But movie nights, so much more of, I don't want to say too much because I told Nicole I'm going to do a video on this, but it does smell like, you know, the bag of buttered popcorn that you buy, or the buttered popcorn that you get in the tin. The kettle corn is certainly my favorite. In my Lake George video, I had this great long conversation, and I interviewed him briefly. This guy on the street making like kettle corn out of this huge kettle. And we were talking about popcorn from the Disney parks. We were talking about popcorn from Six Flags amusement parks, and all the research he's done and like what he tries to do to make his the best. It was a really interesting conversation. Popcorn is a very, very cool thing that I would love to spend more time perfecting my popping methods, if you will. Who wants to know how to play? Gabe, I want to know. So I think just so everyone can know, that's something you definitely have to put in the comments as soon as this vlog or this video is uploaded. Laura says, I like the Walking Dead name even though I don't watch the show. You see what I mean? Suddenly you give the candle a little bit more context, something a little bit more playful, something a little bit more of entertainment factor. I agree. Walking Dead. I don't really watch the show anymore. But it would be an interesting concept, right? Especially, of course, especially for Halloween. And Violet says maybe post-apocalypse could have a dry dust smell too. So that's more of kind of what I was thinking, like dry dust, asphalt, rust, steel beams, wrought iron, concrete. You know, I don't know. I just think when I think of apocalypse, I think of the city environment. What was that movie with Jake Gyllenhaal? "508 Costa." Happy Sunday, everyone. Just got in from Old Sturbridge Village. So awesome. Maple Days and St. Patrick's weekend festivities. She says awesome, or maybe he says awesome. I'm not sure. I don't think we've been acquainted officially. Time for some candle talk. Well, I would honestly like to know about your trip to Old Sturbridge Village. I really enjoy going there, and I although what wasn't my greatest video this past year at Old Sturbridge Village, I like watching it. I like watching it. It didn't really have a narrative, didn't really have a story, didn't have a theme, but I had a great time. And when I watch it, I do feel like I captured the experience I had on that particular day. So go ahead and watch it. And then watch the one from the year before, too. Beechwood is amazing, but I have a lot more perfume, but a lot more perfuming, in my opinion. You guys write perfectly well. I just apparently can't read. And it is time that I get glasses. That is happening. It is happening soon. Halloween night. High five. Like kids trick-or-treating on Halloween night as that sun is making its steady decline, of them kind of singing and chanting some Halloween tune, you know, Halloween night. And if you remember the very beginning of the 1978 horror classic by John Carpenter, there is that little snippet. I forget what the kids actually sing. But that's what I thought of immediately when he said Halloween night. Yeah, and you're right, Chris. It can go in so many different ways. Beechwood is amazing, but a lot more perfumey, in my opinion, compared to wild seagrass, that is. I would agree with that. I had fried Kool-Aid at the fair once, says Nicole. fried Kool-Aid. This, you know, why did I not go to a fair? I have like 3 pretty well-known fairs in my vicinity, and I didn't go to one of them this summer. When I say this summer, I mean summer to me felt like it was yesterday. Most outrageously strange food choices that they have to offer. I think that's a good topic for a show. Speaking of that, just between you guys and myself, how would you feel? Because it might take a couple days for me to actually go out and do it, and it would not be candle related. But as you, I'm sure, know, Toys R Us is closing. And I had a long conversation with my brother last night about how, at least for my brother, his generation and my generation, how Toys R Us was such a staple of childhood. Just like, you know, your Toys R Us was just as important as your arcade, just as important as your bowling alley. It was just, it's not just so much what was inside, it was the space, it was the arena. And with Toys R Us closing, I was thinking about doing, you know, not making it over dramatic, but I think it would be kind of sad to go through the experience, but also a cleansing experience. Cleansing? I don't know about cleansing. But to show the last few moments of the Toys R Us that I would go to, my brothers and I would go to when we were really small children, where we would buy all of our Nintendo NES video games, and before that ColecoVision games, where we bought our first Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, all of the board games, and all, not to mention all of the bikes and the candies that they had there. So much nostalgia tied to Toys R Us. How would you guys think? What would you guys think about that? Or should I be focusing more on candle-related products? Because I could see you guys having different opinions on that. Yeah, look at that. I like the tea tree inside of it too. You're supposed to put the frosted glass, this guy, around it. However, I think this, so I finally found a use for the Barney egg. I think this is actually kind of cooler, because for me it looks like a nice orange sky, orange purplish pinkish sky, you know, a horizon, a sunset. And as it gets darker, the bats are coming out to enjoy their nocturnal delight. So maybe instead of using this for Halloween, I'll be using the Barney egg. Angie Clementine, I used to make fresh bread every week. I don't know if that was based on my prior statement. I have it right here. Where did it go? I just had it. Kringle Candle, I believe, has, this is not it, which means I don't think I have it here. No! I gave it away to one of you folks. Well, I hope you're enjoying it. Kringle Candle had a fragrance called Fresh Baked bread, and it smelled amazing. It smelled like, like when you have the yeasty dough rising um, in your kitchen before you bake it. It was really interesting. I really liked it. I only had it in the daylight form, but maybe that's something that you would enjoy, Angie. Wow, I'm really far behind because you guys are commenting on things I said a long time ago. Peter Baelish, yes. Once upon a time was the owner of a radiator repair shop. About the smell of copper that came out of nowhere, I guess. No, I mean, Travis, I think the copper, there was a copper gunpowder smoke, I think he said. Um, that to me, that's kind of portrays the idea of like a steampunk kind of concept. So whether it be the radiator, or maybe it's a combination. Maybe it's a radiator heating appliance, but it's got like clock gears. Has a very could have a very steampunk look to it. I think that would be really cool. I've never smelled that Kringle candle, but I have the Village candle warm buttered bread. I'm guessing it's probably similar. Angie, next time, like I go to, like if you hear me saying I'm going to Deerfield or I'm going to Kringle, shoot me a reminder. Shoot me an email. Get in touch with me some way. Remind me. If they have it, I'll pick you up a day late. I'd be more than happy to do so. But that Village candle, as you say, is not as good as actual baking bread. I can imagine. Nicole said, I'm thinking about taking my son during the week when there are less people and doing a mini photo shoot in there because he is very sad they're closing Toys R Us. Yeah, Nicole. So, I think, you're probably feeling, and it sounds like your son is feeling, that pain. It's like video stores. My oldest brother, when he was in high school and early 20s, he was the guy who worked at the video store. It was like John Cusack or Cusack in High Fidelity. He was that guy. You would go into to ask like, what movie am I renting this week, Ken? And he would, talk about all the genres, all the new movies, all the old movies. It was kind of like your little reference book, your little film professor that you would go visit at the video store. And to see that generation dwindle away to things like Blockbuster. I still liked Blockbuster a lot, but to see that personal touch of like really hardcore movie fans having like their top picks, and to eventually have Netflix put the video stores out of business was very sad. And Toys R Us, I think, is even a sadder situation. Carol says, it's so funny to look back on what scared us as kids. For me, it was Hansel. By any chance, Carol, or remember that record? I collect stuff like that. I would love to try to hunt that down. And I love Hansel and Gretel. I love all the Grimm fairy tales. Village Candles Sugar Plum Fairy is one of my faves at Christmas. I gotta start doing. I gotta at least do one village candle evaluation. But better than that, I'll probably end up doing what I have planned for this year instead of just like doing one. Like Spireside. I keep saying Spireside, Spireside. I now have 9 Spireside candles, so this way I can review a bunch, get a full spectrum of what this candle company is all about. And I figured maybe I could do that with Village Candle as well. But several different folks, several different outlets, several different people from the company, people who have associations with Village Candle have reached out to me and said, you know, like if you ever want to go up to Maine and do a segment at Village, maybe I can help you out. So that might be something we will do during the summer. I haven't sat down and actually made the appropriate phone calls to schedule any of that, but hopefully we can do it. How about a candle called Blockbuster? Video store. I think we've talked about this before. Yeah, like, you know, the smell of VHS tapes and the cardboard covers, the vinyl, the posters, the thick paper glossy posters on the wall, the spotlights, the track lighting on the ceiling, all of the candy bars that would be for sale up front, the ice cream. There was definitely, and then, you know, that really heavily high intense smell of the shampooed carpets in the facility. I think you could probably make a candle that smelled like a video store, and I think a lot of people, that would be very nostalgic for many people, especially for myself. Violet says, for me, it was always clowns. Too many evil clowns in movies. Okay, can I say this? When I was a kid, I was very scared. I was a very scared child of many things, and I had older brothers. I had a father who liked to scare the children. And there was this mask, this clown mask that they had. Even my father. I remember my father putting the mask, this clown mask, on top of a broomstick, and he lifted it up to my bedroom window late at night, and he knocked on the window, and I woke up and I saw this hideous, scary clown mask, and it scarred me. I mean, it was devastating. However, like at the age of like 7, 8 years old, maybe even younger, I really started to enjoy thinking and pondering, what scares people? Why do we have the impulse to be scared? And, a lot of the early films I made in like grade school with a camcorder were horror movies. I love the art of setting up a scare, not like boo, but actually legitimately creating tension, getting that tension really, really, really strong and tight, and then release the clown mask. And I swear, after a couple years, I gave up. Until one day, I found it. And I'm going to share it with you right now, folks. And if you don't like clowns, I recommend you turn away now. Now this is a doll. This one's a doll. This is not the mask I'm telling you about. But also something that still sits in my office. Why? Because he is so scary. This is a clown circa, early 60s, late 50s. What child in their right mind would want this? That's not normal. But see, that's the thing. I love to collect stuff like that. And what's better, what's the best thing is he's got a little patch that says "I love you," and it's in the shape of a heart right there on his costume. Whew. Vintage things. I mean, some people said Santa was scary when they first saw him. But here's the mask. Now, you have to remember that masks back in the early days, to make things cheaper, they made them out of a mixture of latex and vinyl. And it's a shame because both materials don't last forever, so it is falling apart a little bit. I'm going to put this on to give you an idea of what was in my window on that night. Can you see my eyeballs? It's like Leatherface. If I made this the thumbnail, I would lose every subscriber immediately. And, yeah. So, I finally found that mask, and I have it on display. I have it on display in my office. Again, I like things. But I do need to repair that mask because it is, the age of the mask is really starting to pay a toll. Good. I'm falling behind here. Cruz Bet would say, would not allow that clown in my house. And Karen says I wasn't scared of anything when I was a child. Does that make me weird? No, I don't think so. Does that mean you like things like horror films and horror fiction? Supernatural thrillers? Remember the movie Problem Child with John Ritter? Yes, I do. With the clown bedroom. Yeah, I know that. Seriously, creepy clown, creepy yikes, creepy lol. Eric says, Karen, I was fortunate to get some of it at my grocery store when I don't know what that's in reference to. Travis says the first horror movie was only 7 seconds long. That's correct. Can anybody name, other than Travis, name that film? And do not Google, do not cheat. Can anybody name that horror film? I wouldn't necessarily call it horror, but I would call it a suspense film. Blockbuster, carpet, juicy grapefruit. You guys are great. I gotta get the comments permanently posted on the side of these videos so that I can go back and rewatch the comments. Rather that, or I have to get like someone to sit next to me and read off the comments. If I miss any of your comments, guys, I apologize. Yankee says, my dad dresses up like Michael Myers and follows kids down the street during Halloween. Yes, my dad doesn't do that. He used to, but guess what? My brother, Eric Peter Carlson, Mr. Disneyland, he does that on Halloween night. He doesn't do it in California, but if he ever comes back to the East Coast, if like the family all gets together for Halloween, Halloween's a big holiday for us, he'll do that. I mean, I think now with the clown business situation. Plus, like, the kids are getting younger and younger every year. But yeah, that brother would put on, actually, that clown mask. I'd let him wear that clown mask. All right, we're going. Like Pennywise and Leatherface. See, this is what happens every time a new post comes up. It brings me down the line. I gotta catch up. Next week on Smell It Sunday, Shane reviews the details of his life in juvenile hall after going on a crime spree after being traumatized by a creepy doll. That would be a plot twist, for sure. Like Pennywise and Leatherface had a child or a kid. Yeah. I would agree with that if you're referring to the mask. We actually don't. When I was in California, I never got one trick-or-treat. I got one trick-or-treater, was my landlord's daughter. But when I'm on the East Coast, I'm usually spending Halloween with like family and friends outside. We have a big barbecue, we play music, we project family-friendly horror films on, you know, a big screen. And so I don't actually get to answer the door to trick-or-treaters. They just kind of come up to us. They know we're the house having all the fun. Okay, I'm catching up here. Oh, he spilled the beans. Yes. So the name of the video or the film was Arrival of Train Arrives at the Station. Was that it? What is the exact name? It was directed by the Lumiere brothers in a year I can't remember, but prior to the 1920s. And so the movie was a train. The camera was set up like, say you're the camera, right? And in the distance, do you see this train? It's pulling into the station. Train pulls into the station. Maybe that's the name. And it's getting closer and closer. Remember, people were not used to sitting in a theater with a large screen projecting an image. And this image of this train getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and finally getting to the point where it's up close in front of the screen. People actually screamed out loud, jumped out of their seats, and some of them were just terrified. And they're saying, why on earth did I just pay to be scared out of my mind? But that shows you how, you know, how we take for granted, you know, the big screen, the effect of movie magic. People back then, there was no such thing as movie magic. Alright, so the name of the movie, Train Pulls into the Station. It's something like that, by the Lumiere brothers. Okay, so I guess this is the official title translated in English. Phantom Carriage. Amanda, you're really, I like your taste in movies. Um, if I'm not mistaken, you were like into. Um, I'm gonna butcher his name. Andrei Tarkovsky. I always get Tchaikovsky and Tarkovsky. Of course, by William. No, by F.W. Murnau was the director. Also directed the Faust and a movie that if you even if you don't like silent films, a movie everyone should see. I think his true um, genius film wasn't necessarily Nosferatu. It was a film called Sunrise. F.W. Murnau. I probably spelled his name wrong. All right, Carol's got to run. Enjoy talking to you all and look forward to next live. Take care, Shane. Carol, thank you so much for joining. Remember, come back and if you remember the name of that record, post that in the comments. Violet says, Nosferatu is a staple at goth clubs in San Francisco. I think that's what you mean, San Francisco, right? Always played on repeat. Are you from San Francisco? He's seen the film Sunrise. Yes, that tracking shot. That tracking shot has inspired quite a few shots in many films. Amanda says, I haven't watched much of Tarkovsky, but I took a university course in Russian cinema. Yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched, say, Andrei Rublev, The Stalker, um, Solaris, just one of the all-time great filmmakers, who, of course, never gets any attention. And it's funny because David Soderbergh, either way, it's close to your last name, Amanda. He remade Solaris. And of course, everyone knows that movie, or at least they did when it came out. Bye bye, Carol. Uh, Violet, I didn't know you were from San Francisco. That's really cool. So when I come out to San Francisco, hopefully maybe you can help me with some locations to visit. I mean, I know San Francisco, but I'm always looking for new places to experience. And as close as I live to San Francisco, I never really had a chance to really pull, you know, pull the city apart and take an up close look. And I'm definitely going to be getting out there one of these days soon. And yes, Cruz Bat is in Santa Cruz. Also, a wonderful place I would love to visit, especially for wine country. Gabe says the candle enthusiast is talking as if you are the same person but two channels and you are commenting. Yeah, well, I think I understand what you mean. That's what I mean. It's like we talk about candles, but we also have to talk about other things. Steven Soderbergh, thank you for that. We got to talk about other things that make us feel nostalgic because first and foremost, although my main channel is called The Candle Enthusiast, to me the main goal objective of the channel was addressing nostalgia, addressing memories, addressing the past, or as Walt Disney would say, Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. That's that concept, that saying, that sign when you enter Disney World or Disneyland is always resonated with me. And so, although we have to talk about candles, we also have to talk about things that make us, that pull at those heartstrings. Or, maybe at times things that we like to speak that, leaves a bittersweet feeling in our heart, but gives us a community to share our personal stories with, like the Toys R Us, perfect example. Tarkovsky's Diaries. I would love to read that. Let me plug in my phone. Somehow the plug fell out. I don't want the phone to shut off. But then after that, I think it's time we talk about a few things and we start wrapping up. But we're not done yet, so don't go anywhere. So Camouflage, we fixed this candle. Thank you for hanging out with me as I did that. Most likely that's going to end up in my collection. You see how it's changing color up in here as it's drying? But I also want to promote my St. Patrick's Day video that will be posted late tonight, like my time, the East Coast, New York City time, or tomorrow morning at the latest. I really hope it doesn't come to that. But just to give you a sneak peek of the candles that I discussed in that video, of course, we had to address the returning favorite or Yankee treasure, Lucky Shamrock. This is something I should have done easily a month and a half ago. But like I said to some folks, I didn't think I was going to get to this Irish video because at some point it became too late. But then I said to myself, so what? I want to do it, even if it's too late and the video gets like 10 views, who cares? A really difficult one to come across, and if you do find it, people, for whatever reason, want to charge a fortune for it. This one is brand new, and it's probably going to stay that way because of this, the scarcity. This is Luck of the Irish. We know this one, right? Is it a blend? Is it a homogenized, or is it a swirl, or is it a homogenized blend? What is this candle? What does it smell like? Well, you'll find out if you check out the review that's coming out, the evaluation on the main channel, The Candle Enthusiast. And not necessarily a St. Patrick's Day candle at all, but one that I think fits the bill, fits the category, and one that I think is, I don't know, it's become so recognizable in Yankee candle stores that people don't even think about purchasing it. It's kind of like Golden Sands or Pink Sands or Macintosh or Spice Pumpkin or Harvest. We know the classics and we see them, and it's just, we know them. We think we know them even if we don't know them. So we tend to just pass them. Meadow Showers. This was not an easy one to break down, and I'm happy with the final result of how I broke this down last evening. So I recommend, if you do enjoy that green smell of the spring and the summer, the florals, you'll see that I drew. You'll see what I have to say about that candle. And It happened. It happened, folks. This is at least a 30-year-old pair of candlesticks scented by the Yankee Candle Company. Not quite sure of the name. It says Shamrock up there, but it also says St. Patrick's Day down there. And you'll see that a big chunk of the candlestick is missing. Why is it missing, you ask? Well, I broke out the aroma prison. I cut off a piece of that candle and I melted it down to get an in-depth, up-close look of what this candle smelled like. Wow. I'll leave you with that. Wow, and I'm starting to smell things that I didn't say last night, which always bums me out. But much more complex than I thought from a pair of candlesticks. And like I said, about 30 years old, give or take. That and something I do want to announce. I have a whole bunch of new eBay items ready to be posted. I'm gonna wait a little while longer to get them up there, but when I do that, I am going to finally remove the Kringle candle Halloween candles. You're probably asking, why am I even excited to share them with you folks? These are Kringle Candle retired Halloween fragrances. This is my favorite, Witch's Cauldron. Retired in 2014. These are 8.5 ounce jars, which was the largest format they were released in. This is Fright Night right here. These are 3 completely different candles, and I'm going to be taking them off eBay for a while. So if you do want to have them and you don't want to wait until like later in the summer, get them. I have several to sell before I pull them for eBay, but I want to save at least the rest for the Halloween season to see if we can raise some money for the show. All of this money goes back into the show so that we can travel, do more things, spend more time out of the office and more time on the road. Also addressing the Kringle candles, I only have 3 medium black frosted glass aluminum lid versions of the very same candles. These are 5 ounces, so even though it looks smaller, it really is not that much smaller. But Wolfsbane right here, I have 3 of these left. Fright Night, I have 2 left. This is not a black frosted glass. You can see it's this translucent, very vibrant, violet, purple, or even magenta, really, glass that Fright Night comes in. I have 2 of those left. And I have this and this one only of Witch's Cauldron. This is up on eBay right now. Once this one's sold, that's it. It's gone. I mean, as far as I know, you won't find it anywhere unless I'm able to track more down. But tracking these down took me actually over a full year to find these. It wasn't an easy task. Again, this money doesn't go into my pocket, it goes into the show. Why aren't we on the road every week? Because we got to take baby steps, right? We have to raise money. We have to make this a functioning machine. The more money we can raise through Patreon, if you don't know my Patreon account, please check it out. Just go to patreon.com. It's in the link. The link is in all my videos. However, you might want to go straight to the website because I think they've changed the URL policy thing. But look up The Candle Enthusiast. I'm there you can throw in a penny a month. You can throw in $10 a month. There's a bunch of tiers. The higher you go, kind of like PBS, the more rewards you get. And we actually have subscription boxes. The Candle Enthusiast subscription boxes, where I spend all my time on my travels picking up the most interesting candle and aromatic products. And I box them up in a pretty little box and I ship it to you. So there's that. And there's still a $15 level thing on Patreon that no one has even showed interest in yet, and I think it's super cool. So please check out to see what that $15 level is. If no one signs up for it, I'm gonna decrease the price, or I'm just gonna remove it completely. But I think it's cool. What else? That is it. That's it for us. Oh yeah, well, 508 Costa. Wasn't gonna say this, but since you mentioned it, can't have an episode without mentioning Halloween. Absolutely. Again, you know, candle season is really September through January, and so Halloween is a very much a large part of that. But last year, if you remember, around June, I released a sneak peek, a spoiler alert, Yankee Candle 2017 video. I did tons and tons of research last year, prepared myself so that I could get some of this information out to you folks before it gets delivered to you by somebody else who perhaps maybe wants to belittle Yankee Candle or put it down. I'm a huge Yankee Candle lover, so I'm in full support. I do nothing but try to spread the love of Yankee Candles. I always like the idea of information from Yankee Candle coming from me first. I strive to do that. And last year, I think I posted the video late June, but keep your eyes open. I have a substantial amount of information that I've already collected on what will be available for Yankee Candle 2018, what will be retired, what will be returning. Yeah, and all, you know, a little bit of the different vessels, the new looks, the new designs, and some things that will excite you and some things maybe that will bum you out. But either way, my sneak peek Yankee Candle Halloween 2018 video, the first installment anyway, will be coming up just around the corner. So keep your eyes open for that. So we've mentioned it. eBay, Aromatic Adventures. Aromatic Adventures is the name of the eBay account. Check to see what I have. I have these up now, but I'm going to be having some really interesting Yankee Candle products up very soon. Again, all the money goes back to the show. Patreon is another fantastic way to become an official candle enthusiast and a way for you to contribute and pledge to the show, to keep this show on the road, as I like to say. And somebody else wanted me to give a little shout out. And, you know, usually I don't just do shout outs, you know, willy-nilly, but, you know, who am I fooling? You know, it's not like trying to think of a big YouTuber right now. I'm not iJustine. I'm not, what's her name? Someone by the name of Elsa, which, if you don't know, is my, she's still a puppy. She's a teacup Maltese, named obviously. Desperately wants a little bit more attention on her Instagram account. So you can follow her at Queen underscore of underscore the underscore snowflakes. Follow her, check it out. I always put some Easter eggs on that account too, just in case you want to see what's happening. Give away a little bit of secrets of what I'm going to be doing in the near future. But for Smell It Sunday, a day where I wasn't even supposed to, I actually officially canceled a Smell It Sunday on Friday evening, and I still managed to get it done. I said to myself, I'm just going to do it, and we've been here for almost an hour and a half. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing the experience of this camouflage candle. Really fun to go through that process. I want to thank you again and again, and as always, for sticking with me, being in my corner, showing me nothing but positivity, giving me that pat on the back, the motivation to keep going, to keep building this thing that we call the Candle Enthusiast. This journey that will certainly take us to many fun and incredibly entertaining places. And as we build step by step, brick by brick, you guys are coming along with me on this journey. And we're going to be documenting every step of the way. We're going to be getting out of town soon. We're going to be visiting some old friends. We're going to be visiting some old familiar locations and some new locations as well. So be excited, be prepared for all of that goodness, and of course more lives on this channel. This was supposed to be on the main channel today, but more lives on this channel all throughout the week, some announced, some not. Thanks again, once again. I will be seeing you folks soon, but until then, be good, please, will you? And if you, like I said, are suffering from any partying or holiday celebration from yesterday, I hope that you're taking that in stride. So feel good, have a lot to eat, have a lot to drink, hydrate yourself, and I'll see you guys soon. And that's the cancel button. Bye-bye, guys.